Passion our purpose, profit our pain. I don't want my name to ever be in vain. A life full of substance is the only thing that will remain the same. Millennial thoughts. Welcome back to another episode of Millennial Thoughts with your girl, Alicia. Today we have a special guest, Sabria, and we are going to be talking about her relocation from North Carolina to Florida. She's gonna give y'all the cities. I just gave y'all the states, okay? But I'm so excited to have her share her story and experience about relocating and just figuring out where you want to be and just all the things that goes into moving can be a lot. So I'm just so excited and thankful for you being a guest today on the show.
Thank you so much, Alicia, for having me. I never thought about the topic of really the process of moving. You just
Hmm.
sometimes just do it, and
Yeah.
then you look back and you're like, "Wow, I went through a lot to do this." So,
Yes, definitely a lot. Definitely a lot. So you can introduce yourself to the people and tell them where you relocated, and then we will start with the other questions.
perfect. Yes, everyone. Hi, well, they call me Sabria Charles. I'm still in the process of officially changing my last name, but you may know me
Oh,
by Sabria Dobbins. Um,
yes.
I recently got married last year, and I work as a mental health professional and also a corporate wellness professional. So I own my own businesses in those fields right now. And I
That is
moved,
so cool.
thank you. And I
Mhm.
moved from Raleigh, North Carolina to Orlando, Florida.
Yes. And side note, if y'all listened to an episode before, another season, you might have heard her on a different season. So, I try to bring people back, you know what I'm saying, for different topics. So yes, that's so cool. I've never been to Raleigh, but actually people told me to visit it. But now I'm hearing your story. I'm just like, okay, well, I don't know. But what made you move to Orlando from Raleigh?
Well, I made the move really because I was really wanting to be happy. I mean, it kind of unfortunately came from a mix of a few things. Some of it was
Hmm.
an element of tragedy.
Mm.
Unfortunately, my husband had actually lost his father, and so
Oh.
that was a really devastating experience. We were already pretty unhappy living in North Carolina, and I think that was kind of the straw that that broke the camel's back, and we just were like, "You know what? Whatever it takes, we're gonna find a way to make this move," because we'd actually talk about the move for years before, and we'd gone back and forth. It was always just inconvenient. It was always something in the way, something like at one point it was, we couldn't sell our house because we had just bought it. So it was always something that kept us from doing this. But that was like that moment where we were like, nope, breaking this lease. We were renting a townhome at the time in Durham, which is right there near Raleigh. We broke the lease and we made that change.
Okay. So Raleigh and Durham's like they're like 20 minutes away, right?
Yeah, not too far from each other, depending on where you are. But yeah, roughly 20, sometimes 30, depending on what part of Durham.
Hmm. Oh, so y'all had a house and then y'all end up selling it and then y'all went to a townhouse?
Yeah, it's a long story. So we
Okay.
actually had originally sold our house before the pandemic. And
Mm-hmm.
we wish we wouldn't have at the time, but we didn't know a pandemic was going to hit by the time we closed on our house in
Mm-hmm.
late 2019. And so we ended up actually moving to an apartment because we were all ready to get ready for our move to Florida. We were going to figure it out. And then the pandemic hit. And that's what really caused us to have a
Mm-hmm.
delay. And so at one point, we actually gave up and had decided that we were just going to take our fate and just stay in North Carolina. So we went on and found a townhome. We were about to buy another townhome. We were really going to just make it work. And so when everything happened with his dad and kind of like that final push, and it was the midst of COVID in 2021, we said no more. We're not going to keep doing this and letting life decide for us. We're going to take.
Hmm. Definitely want to send my condolences. I know it's been a while, but still want to send my condolences about the tragedy that happened, of losing a father. I could only imagine. So that is really, really sad. So what were you hoping, or how did you choose Orlando?
So we actually traveled there together back in 2014. It was
Mm-mm.
our first shared trip to Disney. Now, I hadn't been my first trip to Disney, but it was his first trip. And
My girl, Disney girl.
yes, if people check out my socials, I am always at Disney.
Hmm.
And so we went together back in 2014 and we really loved it, and it just felt like our speed, just the environment, the things to do. Orlando's one of those places that if you're in love with theme parks, you got the options. There's plenty of theme park options, but there's also so much to do in nature. There are so many just attractions and things and ways to be involved in the world that we just wanted to be somewhere where it was more lively. Whereas North Carolina, where we live, especially Raleigh, was very family oriented. So people were like
Mm.
settling down. They were just looking for that comfy, good job. Whereas we're over here trying to risk take and have some fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's
Okay, it's like you settle down when you have kids and stuff like that. Like you just chill,
I
but
don't
you
know
like.
about even then. Our kids might
Oh,
be having might be out.
well, no, not you. No, I'm talking about like the atmosphere for Raleigh. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
advantage for yeah, that's true. Now for Raleigh, if you're someone who really wants to settle and you want comfortable and not settle in a bad way, but I'm talking about comfortability and you want to have a good job and a good career, it's a great place to build yourself. It was a great starter for us to build our careers, but definitely not the kind of place we wanted to be to live
Hmm.
our lives.
Okay, and so you feel like Orlando is giving you the quality of life that you were looking for.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, okay, that's really good. So then, when you decide to move to Orlando, did you look for apartments? Were you looking for houses? Like, how was that transition?
So we knew that we were going to have to do an apartment because we were not ready to commit to a home because we didn't know enough about it. Orlando is huge, and I didn't realize that until we really got out here. There are so many parts. There's the south and the east and the west. All these. It's a very sprawling town or city, really. And so there's the downtown district area that's kind of near Winter Park, which is like the well-off kind of feeling. There's the Orlando in itself with Dr. Phillips, and that's like the old money doctors area. It's a really nice area. And then there's like the southern Orlando area, which is I'm thinking more of like your Hunters Creek area and whatnot. And so we weren't really sure. So we decided to just get an apartment that was going to be near the theme parks and near the action. It didn't go well, but I will say that.
I was like, weren't you nervous though? Because isn't Orlando expensive? Like
Yes. I mean,
Disney
and we
and
got
stuff
this
like that.
yes, and we got this apartment sight unseen, which was a bad idea.
Oh my goodness, y'all didn't see it because it was
No,
during the pandemic.
well, yeah, because we didn't really have the ability to try to go back and forth because it was just going to be way too much to go back and forth.
Hmm.
So we just did it sight unseen, but did not work out too well.
Oh, so are you about to move again?
So we actually had moved. We've moved since then. So what happened
Oh.
was in 2021 we moved into the apartment. It was nice. We thought the pictures looked nice. The lobby was really nice. We
Hmm.
moved in, and after a few, maybe a few days, we realized that it was a roach motel. I mean,
Mm.
literally roaches like once, at least once a day or twice a day. It was like horrible. And we were like, oh my gosh. And then the shower had like, we didn't, it was like some sewage issue that was going on in the shower.
What?
It was like gross. Like you could, it was like an apartment that was only a few years old, but you could tell they didn't take care of it. Yeah, it was expensive. I mean, I think it
Hmm.
was like I'm trying to think. That apartment was probably in the 1,700 or almost
What?
$2,000 range. I mean, it was a two-bedroom.
And they had roaches in showers. Oh, messed up. See,
Yes, it was bad. I mean, we were like, I could not get out of that place fast enough.
Yeah. Did you end up staying for a whole year? Or did you end up breaking your lease?
I wish we could have broke it, but I mean, at the time, we didn't know exactly what we were going to do. We were unsure. So, we just had to kind of stick it out until we knew what our next steps were. And so after some time in the apartment, we actually started looking at homes because we were like, okay, well, apartment life is all right, but we had a home back in the day. So it's very hard to go kind of back and forth when you came from
Hmm.
having a home to an apartment. So
Hmm.
we ended up opting to get a home. So we ended up buying a home in the St. Cloud area, which is about 35 minutes or so from Orlando. So we're still in the
Oh, okay.
proximity. We're not far.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's been a really nice experience and it's very serene. We hear a chicken cock-a-doodle-doo in the morning and but it's quiet, so
Okay,
I'll take
you
it.
about to come back on my next episode season. Okay, we're gonna talk about that later though. But okay, well, congratulations on the homeowner. So now you're in a home. It's way better.
Yeah, I think it is. I would say,
Uh-huh.
I mean, the only thing is about the thing about Florida is Florida's kind of like behind. So here's a con, I would say. It's almost like Florida is, it wants to be this wonderful, sprawling city of action, but yet it seems like they are still kind of behind. So, like the town we're in, there's so much room for growth, but it's like we're like 10 years behind. So I think that in the next 5 to 10 years, it's going to really pour over from Orlando, but unfortunately, Florida
Mhm.
moves kinda slow in their construction.
Okay. I didn't even think about that. I thought about Florida like to move and stuff like that. I'm like, maybe that's like a retiree place for me. But I went to Destin. I'm like, oh yes, I love the trees and stuff like that. The weather kind of, but
Yes.
hurricanes and everything like that, that scares me. So I'll be thinking about that. But that's interesting to hear that like they're kind of behind um in their like construction. So did you feel like it was hard to leave your old life for this new life?
Well, I remember at first I did feel kinda, like, weird. I kinda felt like it was just my husband and I alone in the world, and
Mhm.
I felt kind of anxious, when I initially moved out here because I was kinda
Mhm.
like, "Oh gosh, like, I don't know the roads, I don't know where I usually go, and, like, I don't know
Mhm.
the spots that" these are not I don't know anybody, so it felt kind of like it's almost like you feel, like, naked, like, you kinda feel, like, vulnerable because you don't, like,
Mhm.
know anyone, you don't know anything, so you're trying to just navigate it in the best way you can. And so at first I did feel a little bit like a deer in headlights, but once we kind of settled in and we really just started finding our way and getting around and exploring and meeting people and just trying to just engage with what was happening around us, it made it a lot better.
So, within that, do you feel like you went back to North Carolina more like during the holidays and stuff like that? Or do you feel like your family came and visited you? Or you just feel like it was really like y'all just kept going. Y'all didn't really think about going back to North Carolina. Y'all just was like, we're gonna stick it out here.
You're gonna be like, "What?" when you hear this. So, I literally have not gone back home to visit since. The only time I've gone back home was, like, I think twice in 2021 for, like, business, and because I happen to have a contract with a company in North Carolina, but I literally have not gone home outside of business.
What? Where's your family? Are they in North Carolina?
They're all in North Carolina, both sides of our families, and we have seen them more living out here coming to visit us than we even ever saw them back home.
For real? People are coming.
Yes.
That's cool. That's a good thing because usually family don't come and visit family at other places. But I guess you're in Orlando, so they're like, "What Disney World, everything." So they're coming out to see you in Orlando.
Yes,
Oh, that's really good.
we have made some beautiful family memories. I mean, we've done big family trips where my brothers, my mom and dad,
Uh
we
huh.
all came and went to Disney together. We've done
Uh
it with
huh.
my
My girl
husband.
go to Disney like once a month. I swear. I be watching you on Facebook. I'm like, didn't y'all go there for like after you got married or something like that? Or y'all got married at Disney? One of the two.
So we actually got married in our community here where we live. So we got married
Mhm.
locally. We didn't get married at Disney because we weren't trying to spend that Disney money.
Okay.
But we did our like anniversary, like our premarital stuff
Oh,
at Disney, and then like,
okay, yes. Okay, okay, okay. I remember. I'm like,
but
I
girl,
be
we go
seeing you
basically
on
every
Disney.
week. I mean, literally.
I've never been to Disney World actually. I've never even been there, so that's interesting.
You should
Um,
come.
yeah, I have to think about it. I'm gonna have to go one day. Isn't Tampa close to Orlando? Is that what it is? Tampa's like 30 minutes away from Orlando.
Yeah, it's actually about an hour. We did
Oh,
do a boat trip out with some friends out in
mm-hmm.
Tampa when we first moved out here, and it's
Uh huh.
very nice. I mean, I thought Tampa was very nice. I love it. It's a great place if you're into the boating and being on the water, and it's a great place.
That's me. I really want to visit Tampa. Oh, I love boats. I love trying to be out by water. Okay, but this is about you, so I'll talk about that later.
You'll love Tampa, though. Well, you'll
But
love
yes,
it.
so I was thinking about visiting Tampa. So I was like, oh, maybe I can come and like visit you while I'm in Tampa. But you said it's like an hour away. But I could figure that out. But yes, so do you
Yes.
feel like the reasons you moved to Orlando worked out, or do you still feel like you're still trying to figure out like what you really want like in your new place, like for your quality of life?
So I would say that I mean, luckily, me and we both are remote workers, so we really
Oh,
do have a lot of
nice.
flexibility. We're able to kind of staycation if we want in town near the action, and we're able to have our serenity of our home as much
Mhm.
as we want. I mean, honestly speaking, though, I think that it really wasn't about finding purpose, like the move. I feel like I had purpose, because the work I do that's remote, all my stuff is telehealth, and so I just have like sometimes I have satellite places I have to go to work and whatnot. But in general, my purpose already existed beyond where I lived. This was
Mm.
really a decision for us that gave us just peace and gave us joy and just the ability to enjoy ourselves and work hard and play hard. We have never played harder. And
Mhm.
it has been the most joyful experience of being able to play hard and just being able to know that we're working. Maybe we have long days. Some of my days, like for example, some of my days don't end until 10 o'clock, depending on what I'm doing or later. And
Mhm.
so it just feels so good to know that I can also cut loose that next day somewhere at
Mhm.
a cool place that's in Orlando, new restaurants,
Mhm.
new bars, new experiences. They have all kinds of tours and museums, but there's just always something to get involved in.
Mhm. Okay, that's really really cool. I really like that. So do you feel like moving? Okay, so I know you're newlywed, well, but you have been with your husband for a while.
Yeah.
But do you feel like it took you a while to adjust and settle in to your community, like your surroundings, or do you feel like since like you're not really out there by yourself, it didn't really take you that long to adjust and settle into the new city?
So I would definitely say it was an adjustment period. I mean, don't get me wrong, like waking up to palm trees and sunshine most days was not something I complained about. I mean, people often complain it's really hot in Florida, but to me, it's just more humid. It wasn't really much hotter than North Carolina that I can really remember.
Hmm.
It's just hotter longer in Florida or it's warmer longer. Like, for example, a lot of our family back home, they're getting like 50s and 30s and 40s for their weather, whereas we're typically in the 70s or higher.
Hmm.
Now we get pretty chilly some nights, but just overall, when I think about the experience, I definitely remember just kind of feeling vulnerable a little bit and just the familiarity or just having the access to family because I could.
Hmm.
But I think and after really just getting involved and immersed in my lifestyle here and spending time with my husband, I think it allowed us to connect a little more too with it just being us. We weren't distracted by things. And I think there's a freedom too, because sometimes when you live near family or a lot going on, sometimes you feel like a sense of obligation for things. And I think that sometimes it is important to kind of have your own space and distance so that you can more easily set boundaries. Because sometimes it was hard because it's like, well, I know we live close, but doesn't mean we want to come and do X, Y, Z.
Okay, like I'm not
So,
always trying to have a family night. I'm trying to be in my bed.
yes. So
Uh-huh.
it's kind of nice to be able to just have a little less obligation. I think that's what we really wanted, more freedom and less obligation.
And you're like, okay, y'all can come when I invite y'all. Like, you just can't be coming anytime. I feel that way. That is so funny.
Exactly.
So, my next question is about finding community. And so you are getting involved in more in the community, but do you feel like you have found, I guess, like friends, if that's what you're looking for, or like professional networking and stuff like that? Do you feel like you're still kind of building your community, or do you feel like that's not something that's like you're really focused on right now?
It's hard. I think honestly, anywhere you go, it really is hard to build community. And it's very uniquely hard, I think, when you're a couple. And the reason
Hmm.
why is that as a couple, you're kind of looking for, you're most likely going to end up with somebody who's also a couple, but you want somebody who like has their heads on straight, have value systems in place because when you spend time with somebody, you got to be careful and make sure that it's someone who they don't have to be like you, but they need to be someone that, y'all both respect each other and, you have representative lifestyles that are kind of adaptable with each other that, you don't want to hang out with somebody who, let's say y'all have very different budgets all the time. So it can be really hard because then maybe you don't want to eat at a certain type of place, but they do. Like, you got to find somewhere you're compatible. And I think it is hard
Mhm.
as a couple to find other compatible couples who have like the same value system and interest, or at least similar, or kind of in the same ballpark of interest and values. I think it's important. And I think a lot of people underestimate that. And because you sometimes I think that friendship, we think it's just hanging out, but it's more than that, right? It's the conversations you're having. It's what things are you talking about. We don't really spend a lot of time talking about, you know, just any old thing. Like we're very philosophical kind of people as a couple. We like to talk about like real life stuff and topics. We're very we're really into like a lot of kind of just knowledge based speak. And so it's hard, and maybe we're being picky, but it does take time.
Mhm.
But we've had a few people we've met, like we go out, we'll meet them, and then we'll add each other on Facebook, but we don't have anything too extensive. Now I have a few colleagues I've met, which is nice, and so I might meet with them from time to time on a colleague
Mhm.
professional level, but that's about it.
Oh yeah, well you were saying that you work remotely, but so is your job based in Orlando though?
So both the works I do, they're both my own companies that I run. So I run my own therapy practice, and I also run my own corporate wellness practice. So
Mhm.
there is like satellite places that I have to do for my therapy stuff, for supervision and things like that. But in regards to location, everything is location independent, which is really
Mhm.
nice.
I love that. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I was asking because you were talking about that you might like hang out with your colleagues. So I was like, oh, do you have colleagues in your area? That's what I guess I was just trying to ask. So it's like,
Yeah,
okay,
we'll meet up.
although, yeah, like
Yeah, I've
although
met
you're
up with.
remote, like your colleagues are still kind of like in the area with you. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, love that location independent, and that's a good thing that you brought that up because with relocating, people are always trying to find a job. It's hard, but like not having that worry of looking for a job because your job is location independent is really really great. So remote working is a great way to be able to just move wherever, especially like you own your own businesses as well. But then sometimes you don't have to think about time zone changes and stuff like that when you're running your own business. Now, if you are doing it for a business that has certain times, that's something to think about too. But also just finding jobs that are like remote based, but also if you're in that state and stuff like that, it could be like, oh, this is remote, but you have to be in this state. So I've seen that as well too. But I really like the location independent because that means you can move wherever. How you're saying you can have your home base in Florida, but you could be in Mexico, you could be in the Caribbean or something like that, Jamaica, and still being able to work and stuff like that and having that freedom and stuff. So I think that is really, really great.
Absolutely. And honestly, I can't recommend enough for people to really try to look for some sort of remote flexible opportunity, just because, I mean, Florida, they have their own benefits. So, Florida, they have no state taxes. So, you don't have to pay
Mhm.
state taxes on your income. Now,
Mm.
let me give the caveat though. Florida has higher property taxes, so you're gonna make it up if you buy a property. And then also,
Mhm.
Florida does have, a lot of, tolls, and so you are gonna be paying you might not be paying state taxes, but you're paying in so many different ways.
I hate tolls. I don't want to go to a place with tolls. Oh my gosh.
Oh, they are toll central. I mean, we bought the little thing that goes in your car because it's so much, like, it's just toll central, so you can't avoid it's really
For
hard to avoid tolls in
real?
Florida. It really is. You just have there's certain accounts, though, where you can save money on your tolls if you
Hmm.
sign up for their accounts, but it's tolls are high in Florida. I mean, it's just so many tolls, and then they're not as high as upstate, though. I mean, it's still not they're not expensive, but it's just a lot of them.
Yeah. Maybe I don't know because I always fly into Florida. I don't think about it, but I hate tolls. Like, what am I paying for this for? I don't understand. But yeah,
Yeah,
they always gonna get your money somehow, some way.
that's how it
um,
is.
yeah. So I have a little bit of just a couple more questions as we are wrapping up. I wanted to ask, in your opinion, what is the most important factor when deciding to move?
I think it's really important to think about your peace of mind and your happiness, because I think a lot of people, they'll live places that they don't want to live just for a career. And I think it's cool and all, but you spend so much time wherever you are. And it's like I mean, what you're waiting for the 14 days of PTO vacations that, that are so fleeting. It's so important to make your day-to-day lifestyle be
Mhm.
something that can allow you to sustain. I feel so much more motivated to work, Not only because I like and I love what I do, I enjoy what I do, but because I want to sustain this lifestyle that I have built with my husband. I mean, I want to sustain being able to go out to these nice restaurants and enjoy ourselves and enjoy the fruits. We can hop on a cruise to like next weekend if we wanted to because it's an hour
Yes.
away.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think it's important to choose a place where you feel the most alive.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, do you feel like living in Florida, like you feel like you're on vacation every day?
It does. It literally does. I mean, I can't lie. I mean, people are always so happy too. So like when you go out, for the most part, now don't get me wrong, there's a couple of crazy, angry vacationers, but for the most part, people are in a great mood because they're happy, they're on their vacation. And so sometimes we're walking around and
Mhm.
we're like, I feel bad for them. They're like, they're talking about going home and we like live here. We don't have to go home.
Yeah, I see what you're saying because it's more vacation spot. Oh, that's true. You get to like interact with people. Does the tourism get like overwhelming at times though?
It can get annoying because sometimes a lot of time with tourists, the Florida has these crazy exits. Like you could turn off a turn and all of a sudden it's like three exit lanes. You're like, what, where do I go? What bridge do I take?
Uh
And
huh.
so if you don't know the area, it is, and we were the same people. We complained about the people that we once were, but you know,
That's
but
funny.
but a lot of tourists, they struggle with driving because a lot of them could be international, so they might not be used to our roads. Our car
Mhm.
insurance is very high in Florida. My insurance is a little
Mm.
over double here than what I was paying back home, just because it's expensive because people are from different places, different, and so wrecks are common, and so you definitely have to be careful out here. So the tourism can be frustrating because sometimes it also messes up your dinner reservations. Like you might want to have like a casual dining, not having a plan. But unfortunately, with tourism, they take up the reservation, so you have to kind of plan in Florida if you want to do.
Oh, that's actually a good thing, and for yeah, because it's like the people who are coming, they're already going to plan their stuff, so you kind of got to get on top of it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
interesting. And so I know that you talked about moving with your husband to Florida. So this is just kind of things like if someone was moving with their spouse and stuff like that. Do you have any suggestions of like maybe how much you should have saved to relocate? Did you have like a budget in mind because it was you and your husband, or were y'all like, okay, we both decide we're gonna go to Orlando. This is what we're gonna have to like get for our apartment and this like how was that process?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really big team process and it really just depends on what you want. The great thing about Florida is you can find things that are budget friendly. It's just
Mhm.
understand that the area you live in might not be as nice, it might not be as safe. You have to just be mindful of that first. So like we stayed in like a nice luxury apartment. We were really looking for something that had more of like that luxury feel and appeal. Because that's just, that's kind of how we hotel, but that's another
Okay.
story, that first apartment. But when we ended up, eventually building our house and it worked out and it was great and we transitioned and it all worked out. But what I can say is I would say if you at least have you're going to need to have moving costs, right? So I would say moving costs, you're always looking at between $2,000 and $3,000 just to be able to move
Mhm.
because you're thinking about paying for some months of storage. We had to have a storage facility out there, so you want to think about those things. And then you're going to want to think about the actual apartment rental. So I wouldn't recommend to buy a house unless you could actually go down there and see the area. Florida has a gotcha where sometimes they'll have houses that are really beautiful, but it's like in a really like rough area, but it's like a beautiful house that they've gentrified in that area. And
Mhm.
it's not to judge and to make people feel bad, but it's just, are you okay? Do you feel will your family be safe? Will you feel comfortable? And will you feel okay knowing that you're in a place that's gentrifying other places? So it's just something to think about in Florida. So it's very important to go down and actually look at what you're trying to buy because Florida, it's one of those places where you need to see the area and feel the area before you go. Like for example, Kissimmee is very popular because it's near Disney, but I dislike Kissimmee. It is not a place that I want to live. It just feels very like, ugh, when I go there, I don't feel happy to be in that area. I feel very uncomfortable because it's not like as nice and pristine as a place like Lake Nona or like Orlando where they upkeep it a little bit better. And
And
so you're definitely going to want to think about where do you want to live, what proximity, what do you care to be nearby? Do you want to be near the beach, so Daytona or Cocoa Beach area, or do you want to be inland? And so my recommendation, so have your down payment for your apartment, and that can range between $1,000 to $2,000 or a little more, depending on what you're trying to get for a 1 or 2 bedroom or so. Nowadays, these 2 bedrooms are getting closer to 2,200, 2,300 out here.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, if you want to be in the heart of everything, you're spending some money. And so you're gonna need at least, I would say, between 5 and 6,000 if you want to kind of have a comfy down payment and have
Mhm.
your deposit and everything, and then at least got a couple months rent. Now, some people can move without a job and just jump in and take a risk and do it. You just need to use your savings. But I would recommend, if you can, to try to have something lined up, something comfortable, because even if you want to get an apartment, they're going to want to see your income statement. And so
Mhm.
a lot of times it's 3 times the rent, which is very hard. I mean, it's very hard to make for like the average person if you're not a two income household. So I definitely recommend that you definitely have something lined up, have an offer letter or something so you're able to move from there. So when you add all the numbers together, I would say at least $5,000 to $8,000 at the minimum to kind of just get
Mhm.
yourself going.
Okay, yeah, that's really good. And something that you said earlier, it's just crazy to me how like we have all these nice things, say like Disney World, and see all these like even Disneyland, even down here like in Atlanta, it's like all these nice places, stadiums, but then it's like right next to it, like they don't upkeep it, or then I mean it ends up getting gentrified. But it's like, how come there's not nice things by these nice areas that you have? And it's like you want people to come to this stuff, but it don't even look appealing on the outside or the surrounding area, which kind of turns people away. So I think that's really kind of interesting. Um,
Yeah.
my next question is, what are some tips or advice you would have uh to tell others about relocating? Like if you had any non-negotiables, like if that's something that you think about, like how you were saying earlier about safety, anything that you haven't said, I guess. If you have anything else to share with the people who are listening.
Yeah. So, as a mental health professional in the healthcare arena, Florida is not the place you want to go if you want to have the most access to healthcare. You'd be surprised because
Yeah.
it's a state for older people. You would think it would have a more robust healthcare, but unfortunately, Florida is very inundated with people and it's kind of almost overcrowded sometimes in some ways. So you're going to have very long waits. So like even when I've set appointments for urgent care, I've still had to wait, and it's sometimes very frustrating. So I worry that, gosh, if an actual emergency happens, are you going to be taken care of? Because
Mhm.
unfortunately, Florida has very limited support resources
Mm.
in in
Ooh,
in in, in the medical side.
that's why everybody was coming from the nurses. I'm trying to be laughing.
Yeah, giving out them fake degrees in there.
That was
That was
crazy.
insane, but I can see it. I guess they were trying to do it to meet the demand, unfortunately, which was not the right thing to do. And I mean, and also for anyone who needs complex mental health services, so especially people who have children with disabilities or certain
Mm.
mental health complications that need specialty care, this is not the place to
Florida
be.
is not the state.
Yeah, it's not the state because they don't have the availability. I mean, literally the wait lists are ridiculous for child mental health services in Florida.
Did you think anything about that? About the laws? And so I know you don't have kids, so I get you probably wasn't thinking about like schools and stuff like that. But even thinking about laws and like what type of state that is, like it's a red state and like the governor and everything like that. Did that have any effect on you, or were you just like, it's okay?
Yeah, I mean, it did have an effect. It was something we thought about, and of course, we were concerned about, safety. Like, will we be, we did our research on even when we bought our house. Like, will we be? We don't want to be in an area that's, unsafe. I mean, we're like in a veteran kind of town area, so it's been fairly quiet. But yes, it does matter for us. We actually don't think that we'll probably be utilizing the public school system or really nowadays with online school, homeschool options. We're really looking for a non-traditional way for our child. So I really recommend, if you want something for your child, then you might want to consider private school in Florida or
Mhm.
something a little more specialized. But for us, it wasn't priority just because we're not, children
Yeah.
are the first thing on
Mhm.
our list right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I was saying. Because my last episode we talked about homeschool centers, but I meant when I was talking about laws, I guess I was talking about like laws like against like women. You know how they talking about
Oh,
like the black like history, like black history, like the LGBTQ and stuff like that. Like like oh no, it's not a progressive state. Like Florida is not a progressive state. It's whatever
yeah.
that state is in red. Like did that affect you, or did you think about that when moving?
No, that's a great question. I mean, we did, and we knew that there was risk in that. The thing about Orlando, though, is almost like Orlando's is its own world. Like the people in Orlando are so progressive and it's so different. So it's
Mm,
almost like you have a sub world in that greater state. You know, it's almost like the
mm,
voice of the politicians in Florida are louder than the actual kind of experience in the bigger core towns. And so
mhm,
we, if anything, we see more progressive things going on, events for the LGBTQ plus IA plus community. We see, there's so many like different Black history things that Disney does. And it's just,
mm,
honestly speaking, in my personal opinion, if the area you live in, Florida, does matter. And so
mhm,
I do believe that we're kind of shielded from the greater issues. Now, don't get me
mhm,
wrong, I understand there's certain laws that can affect, women, especially like abortion laws and all those.
mhm. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Mhm,
Yeah, and that can be really tough. I mean, in my, like, I'm in a different situation, so I can only imagine how someone who may want to choose that route or have to choose that route could feel. I mean, it could be very difficult. And so, for us, if I don't think that's an option of what we would have to do. But if it was like a
mhm,
medical
mhm,
thing, then we
mhm,
probably just have to travel and just travel to somewhere for a safe reason. For if it was a safe medical reason, we had to make that choice.
mhm.
So it is tough, but
But yeah,
I
under
guess,
your
yeah.
circumstances, it's like, oh,
Yeah, it hasn't
mhm,
affected us majorly, yeah.
I understand, I understand. But yeah, I kind of be thinking about that too. Like, okay, or even people like, I want to move to Texas. You be like, y'all know Texas is a red state. You know what I'm saying? And so people do have different, like, what is it called? People have different, like thoughts or whatever. Like people think differently or people have different values and morals. That's really not the word that I'm thinking of, but like if you think you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, like people have different things that they think about. But sometimes it's just like those bigger overarching issues. You're just like, oh, okay, would I want to move there? Because this is what this governor thinks. This is how this state rolls and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah.
But to wrap it up, I wanted to ask you, was it worth it?
I would say 100%. Even with the downfalls of the hurricanes, we did go through a couple of
Ooh.
hurricanes, and the major one did come while we were here. I think it was Nicole. Was it Hurricane Nicole? Or I can't remember. We did get some major hurricanes. We, thankfully we were okay. I mean, if you're in an apartment, typically you're okay. Besides that terrible situation that happened in the surf side with that apartment in Florida. I think that was near the beach though. But, you know, overall, despite the hurricanes, despite the tolls, despite the despite the
Not despite everything though, but yeah.
like, literally, despite all those things, like, it literally we still will, like, scream coming here to the rooftops. We truly do. We're, like, the biggest, like, advocates for people to come out here just
Mhm.
because our quality of life has gone up
It
dividends.
has.
We are so happy. We spend more
Mhm.
time together. We connect more as a couple, and it's just been so great for our relationship and for our lives as a whole.
Yes, that is so good. Like that is really what I'm on, and that's really why I wanted to like start this because you hear all these different places like live here, but it's like, what is the quality of life? Like, I'm sorry, Atlanta does not give me the quality of life that I'm looking for, so I have to go. And so, how you saying like it's okay to move? Like how Raleigh wasn't giving you what you were looking for, and I think that people think that you got to stay in the same spot, same stay in the same area. Like you have to just be stuck, and I'm like, no. Like I can understand why people don't move, but you don't have to be stuck in where you feel that you don't feel like this is a good quality of life. So I really agree with you, and I think that is really really great. That you move and you figure like, well, what do I want to do? I want to be happy. Where can I be happy at? Where can I get the best quality of life? And then you move there. So I wish nothing but the best for you and your Orlando and your Disney World adventures.
Thank
I
you
know you
so
love
much,
Disney World.
Alicia.
You should have your baby at Disney World, and then they can go there for free for the rest of their life. And I would say for plan it somehow. I don't know, but I'm just
Yes. I'm
but
excited. I love it.
yes. Yes, I want to thank you so much for being a part. You can share your businesses if you want to. Again, if you want them to follow you, if they know if you want them to know more about it, anything you have to share with them is greatly appreciated.
Yeah, yeah. So I run Project Passport. So you can just visit me at Project Passport LLC. And then I also run Fruits of Freedom Counseling. So you can visit me at FOF Counseling. And so that's it.
Yes, thank y'all so much. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Like I said before on my other episodes that you can get a relocation tracker because as we talk about the expenses, it does get expensive. It is free and it is in my bio. I also do relocation consulting. And if you want to schedule an appointment, you can also do that as well. It will be in the show notes, not the bio. And I will also link everything else that you all can follow so we can stay connected. Hopefully, y'all enjoy this whenever you listen to it, and have a great day, night, or evening. Thank you so much. I really appreciate